Honestly, my one of my biggest goals is just to encourage people to try, because it's much more approachable than it probably looks up front, and it's really fun, and you can create some really cool effects.
Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and this week I'm talking to Tamer of Blackletter Foundry about a topic that I admittedly have been terrified of for many years. And I'm really excited to have him on the show because he's walking us through a basics lesson on Blackletter. I think you're really going to like it. I really liked it. So let's just jump right in. Tamer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you because I feel like a lot of my audience, and like full disclosure, me too, included in that, is just like knows what Blackletter is, but is completely intimidated by it and just like has never actually tried to do it because it feels scary.
Yeah, it can look really scary at first. The letters look complicated and they need so many strokes to form and to make, but I promise it can be easy and it can be a lot of fun too. It's very approachable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see your lesson and to see that because whenever I see your work and like all your crazy cool compositions and everything, I'm like, absolutely no way I can do that. But I have a feeling you're going to break it down really well for us.
Thank you.
Before we do, though, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do and all of that good stuff?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So my name's Tamer Ghoneim. I am a professional calligrapher living in Houston, Texas, but originally from Canada. So my roots are in Canada, which is super fun. Yeah, from Calgary, just near Banff and all the
Oh, cool. I
crazy
didn't know that.
beautiful scenery. Yeah, yeah. I still feel like it's home. I miss Calgary a lot, and I actually even several years ago really got into photography, and the scenery up there is just unbelievable. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a photographer slash calligrapher maybe, but right now focus is calligraphy.
And how
So
long have
yeah,
you been doing it?
I've actually been doing it. I would say I got into fountain pens first, so similar to pointed pen. That was my first. Just I was absolutely obsessed with fountain pens for a little while, and that's what kind of led me into the blackletter calligraphy style. So I've been doing the blackletter calligraphy. I would say I've really been focusing on it for around 5 years. So still fairly new, but I tend to go very overboard. I don't know how to have casual hobbies or casual interests. So
Oh my God, I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, my calligraphy was a just supposed to be a little hobby for me too, but here we are. So
yeah, I saw the story on your website and I was like, that is exactly how it felt for me too. It's like, this is, what is this? This is amazing.
yeah,
I absolutely have to do this for like 900 hours a week. Sounds
yeah.
amazing.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, and who knows, maybe this introduction to Blackletter will be the next catalyst for someone else to do it full time eventually too. So
I would love that. I honestly, my one of my biggest goals is just to encourage people to try, because it's much more approachable than it probably looks up front, and it's really fun, and you can create some really cool effects.
but wait, actually, right before we jump into your lesson, I know you mentioned that you have like a supplies list and guide sheets and stuff like that. So can you tell us about that before we jump in? Because the people will probably want them for the lesson, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It will definitely help for everybody to follow along if you've got the guide sheets that I use, and you can get them completely for free. The information is down in the description of the video that we put together here today. And also, if you just go to blackletterfreebies.com, you can download the entire set of
Okay,
worksheets.
cool. And so that's for the supplies in your video too, or just the guide sheets, or both, all of it?
That includes the guide sheets and lists of all the supplies and a PDF and a bunch of other stuff as well.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. Because I don't know if you get the same thing, but every time I post a video, it's like, what pen is that? What pen is that? What pen is that? People are going to want to know what pen that is.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's the most popular question. What pen is that, or what ink, or what paper, or but
Yeah.
definitely the pen is the big one.
Okay, perfect. So everybody go grab that stuff down below, and I'm going to let you get into your lesson now.
Awesome. Can't wait. All right, let's have some fun. In today's lesson, I'm going to go over three things. We'll talk about the tools you need. I'll then review the basic strokes that you can make with our blackletter pen, and then we'll write something in the demo. The tools basically boil down to pen, paper, and ink. I'm going to start with paper because the pen and the ink are bundled together in the tool that I'm going to recommend. The paper that I'm going to use today, and one that I recommend for practicing, is Strathmore calligraphy paper. I like this paper because you get 50 sheets and it's fairly inexpensive. It does have a little bit of tooth to it, so it will resist the pen a little bit while you write. But overall, I find it to be a great paper to work with, and you can create some really unique effects with it too. If you're looking for a paper that doesn't have as much tooth, my initial favorite is Tomoe River paper. The only caveat with this paper is that they've recently changed their manufacturing process, and it is a little bit different now. The main difference that I found is that the new paper tends to bleed more than the old one did. My absolute favorite pen is the Pilot Parallel, which comes with nearly everything you need to get started. Inside the box, you'll find the pen cap, 2 ink cartridges. If I slide this over, you'll even find a bulb for cleaning and a little slip for cleaning the tip, the nib here inside behind these 2 ink cartridges. So everything you need is included right in the box. The Pilot Parallel pens come in a variety of sizes. I've got them shown here from smallest to largest. The smallest is 1.5 millimeters, then 2.4 millimeters, then 3, 3.8, 4.5, and 6. By the way, they also make great pointers. If you're just getting started with Blackletter calligraphy, I'd recommend the 3mm or 2.4mm sizes. The reason for this is while you're writing, if you use a smaller pen, it will require less arm movement, meaning you can accomplish more of the writing of the letter with just the movement of your hand and wrist. The larger sizes, like the 6mm pen, require a lot more arm movement when writing letters, which is a little bit more difficult when you're getting started. I happen to have a few extra ink cartridges here. So let's load one up and start writing. Now I know I recommended using the 2.4 or 3mm pens, but I'm going to write with the 6mm pen today because that'll be the easiest to show. The tip is really wide, as you can see here, and it'll draw a nice wide line for the demo. You can see compared to the 2.4mm tip here. To install the ink cartridge, I'm just going to unscrew the top like so, which will reveal the pen unit here and then the base. Now to get the cartridge installed, all I have to do is unscrew the base like so, and I'll get the pen unit, grab the cartridge, stick it in the back, give it a good little push, screw in the base again, screwing it all the way in, and now the pen is basically ready to use. Like I said, I'm going to be using my Strathmore calligraphy paper. The first time you load the pen with ink and start to use it, it won't immediately start writing. As you can see here, I'm pressing on the page and I'm not getting any ink. So the first time you use the pen, you're going to want to shake it a little bit just to get the ink flowing through the feed section here. And then eventually, you'll start to see some ink sneak through the tip. There we go. Still a little bit rough. There we go. Now I've got the full section. Moving on to the second part of the lesson, let's go over the fundamentals of how to write with the pen and the basic strokes we'll need to make our Blackletter calligraphy. Any of these broad nib pens will basically work by writing broadly at one angle and writing very fine lines at another, like so. And the way this is different from pointed pen calligraphy is I really don't have to worry too much about the pressure I'm applying to the nib. As long as I'm getting ink flow, the key is that I just try to maintain a consistent angle when I'm writing. Now, that's not a rule in all cases. Some styles will have you rotate the nib as you write, but we're not going to worry about that today. So again, I can draw a broad stroke by pulling down when the nib is angled, and then I can draw a very thin hairline stroke if I just push the pen in the direction parallel to the tip. The other cool thing about these pens is that they actually can work like a normal pen if you write using the very corner. So here I'll write another broad line. Here's an angled line, but then if I turn the pen to the corner, I can almost write like a normal pen. Like so. So we use these a lot to do flourishing strokes, or potentially even to fill in a section. It can work as a secondary pen to help fill in an area that you wanted to fill in. So let's dive into the basic strokes that we're going to need to form the letters. Now I know this style of lettering, blackletter, can be a little bit intimidating at first, but I promise you can do this. I'm going to break down the letters that we're going to write today into 3 very simple basic strokes. The first stroke is just going to be a vertical line moving downward, just like so. Okay, that's it. Now, the pen angle that I'm using is generally around 35 degrees. And again, I'm using the corner of the pen to write that, okay? Or 30, just in that vicinity, 30, 35 degrees. The key for the style of blackletter we'll be going over today is just to try to keep the pen angle consistent. So try not to start with a steep angle and then turn it, because your line width will change. So we're just going to start with the pen at 35 degree angle and pull it down. And we're going to call this shape or stroke 1. The second stroke I'm going to use is, again, keeping the pen at the same angle. We're just going to put it on the page and then draw a line parallel to the nib so that we keep it very, very straight, like so. And we're going to call this one stroke number 2. Stroke number 3 is going to be very easy as well, and we're just going to draw a line diagonally, like so, roughly 45 degree angles down. Okay? So again, this is going to be stroke number 3. Using just these 3 strokes, we'll be able to construct almost an entire alphabet, which we'll jump to next. For this last part of the lesson, I've busted out my trusty light box, which is back here in the background. Here's the original sheet where we drew the basic 3 strokes. And I've also pulled out one of the free set of blackletter guide sheets that I created. I'm also going to be swapping to the 3.8mm Pilot Parallel pen just to make the writing a little bit easier, requiring less in full arm movement to make it closer to what you would replicate if you're using one of the smaller, the pink one, the 3.0mm, or the 2.4mm pen, the orange one. This will still keep the writing large enough for you to see on the screen. Now, if I go over the guide a little bit, what we've got here are similar to pointed pen, room for the A sender here at the top. The X height all the way here through the dotted line is the center portion of the guide, and the descender portion is at the very bottom here. Each one of these rectangles here is sized to fit a letter like A, written with the pen at a 35 degree angle. So each one of these guides also includes a line drawn at 35 degrees to help you check your pen angle to make sure you're writing with a consistent angle each time. The center lines in red here are intended to show the width of each of the strokes. So you'll have stroke, space in between the letter, and then another stroke for a letter like A. This will be more obvious when we get into it here in a second. Again, just to reemphasize using this new size pen, the 3 strokes we're going to use are a downward stroke, that's 1, the upward thin stroke, that's 2, and the downward diagonal stroke, that's 3. I'm going to turn on my light box now so that we can see the guide easily through the page. Wrapping up the lesson here, I'm going to write the word happy. We're going to use just the 3 strokes I defined here to write that entire word. We're going to start with the letter H, and I'm going to start at the top of the ascender section here, and I'm just going to pull stroke number 1, that vertical stroke all the way down. Again, to check my angle, I can reference the side of the guide here and even just dab it down to check to make sure I've got the right angle. But again, using these vertical red lines, I can gauge the width of the pen and make sure that the angle is also right just by using the guide. So I'm going to start at the top here, and I'm going to pull a vertical line all the way down. I'm going to stop when the corner of my pen meets the dotted line at the bottom. The dotted line right before the bottom of the X height line. So top, here's the top of the X height line, here's the bottom of the X height line, and then I included a dashed line here in the middle to show you where to stop. And here is the top of our ascender and the bottom of our descender. Okay? So all I did is I drew a vertical line down, stopping at the dashed line. The next thing I'm going to do is draw stroke number 3 here from the bottom diagonally down. And bam. We've got that first part of the H. The next thing I'm going to do is start from around the bottom left corner of my nib, this one here, that I'm writing with is going to line up approximately with where these dots are. That's why I created these dots as well on the page, to show you where to start this line. So I'm going to start up diagonally and draw stroke number 2, that thin line, and then I'm going to come back down and meet the right end of the guide. Got it? Now from there, I'm just going to come back in and then allowing the left corner of the nib to meet the red line on the guide sheet. I'm going to come straight down. And I like to connect these. A lot of people don't. They think it makes it look too much like a B. I tend to connect these myself. And then I'm going to draw another line diagonally. And there is our black letter H. So breaking down the H, we used, right here we used stroke 1. Here we used stroke 2, that tiny little hairline, right? And then I didn't mention it, but here I drew stroke 3 as the diagonal, and then all I did was I repeated stroke 1 again, and then stroke 3 again. So you see how I can break down every part of this letter to any one of the 3 strokes. Let's start with a fresh sheet to write out the whole word now. To write the letter H, I'm going to use the side of my page to check the angle, and I'm going to start from the top of the ascender and draw a line vertically down to the dashed line again. So that is stroke number 1. Then I'm going to use stroke number 3 to come in diagonally. Stroke number 2, starting again from roughly where the dots are, to come up diagonally, and then come down with stroke number 3 diagonally, and then connect to the dashed line, and then come in with stroke number 3 again. Now to form the A, I'm going to leave 1 stroke width space. So I'm going to start, this is the next rectangle over, and I'm going to use the middle segment from it right here. Okay, so I'm going to start my letter A, and I'm going to start the first stroke of the letter A where this dot line occurs in the guides. So I'm going to start from that center column and where that dot approximately is, and I'm going to come straight down with stroke 1 again. I'm going to apply stroke 3 and come diagonally. Here I'm going to start with stroke 3 again, come diagonally down to the right, and then I'm going to do stroke 1 and then stroke 3, and that's it. Now I've got ha. Ha ha. Now we're going to move on to the P's. And these aren't any more complicated. It's almost an upside down H. I'm going to start from the top of the X height box and pull a vertical line all the way down to the bottom of the descender. Okay, then I'm going to use stroke 2 to come up diagonally. Stroke 3 to come down diagonally. Okay, and then I'm going to come back with stroke 1 again and draw a vertical line down to the dashed line right there. And I'm going to connect the dashed line using stroke 3 with the opposite end. And if they don't connect exactly, I'll just use the pen to fill in the gap there. The key is I want to see this point, okay, even though it's tight. And we can play with the widths a little bit for some of the characters, but for now, just to keep it simple, we're just going to keep 1 pen width distance for each of the spaces and each of the actual lines. So to make the second P, we're going to do the same thing. Start up here, come vertically all the way down to the bottom of the descender. Use stroke number 2, stroke number 3, come in, vertical line down to the dashed line. Starting on the opposite side of the P, stroke number 3. If they don't connect, we'll just connect them manually. And that's our HAPP. Now, the Y, we're going to come straight down, stroke number 1. Okay. Diagonally, stroke number 3. I'm going to start on the other side and pull straight down with stroke number 1 all the way to the bottom of the descender. And now to finish off the Y, I'm basically just going to draw stroke number 3 again to connect. Just like so. And with that, we've written the word happy in a black letter style. There are lots of ways that we can have fun too and embellish these letters. One thing that I often like to do is to add a little diamond into the center here of each letter. And that can just give it another unique visual element that makes the letters a little bit more interesting. Maybe give it a little bit more of a gothic look. And the key is you really just want to try to keep the letters or these little accents in the same spot if possible. I don't follow that too terribly religiously, but especially if your lettering is horizontal. I say that because I often like to write in circles and other weird shapes. It looks better when these accents are generally drawn in a straight line. There are a lot of other ways that we can modify and change these letters. You can add thickening accents to the top of some of the letters to give them a little bit of variation in their weights. I can do that the same with the P's here in the top corners, even with the Y's if I wanted. Even the A's right there, the top of the A. I could thicken the bottom of the P by pulling in a little bit at the base. And again, these are all just ways to make the letters look a little bit more interesting or make them a little bit more dynamic or unique. If I did all of that, I would probably also widen the tip of the Y a little bit too, just to give it a similar thickness. I really hope that you found this to be an approachable way to start creating black letter calligraphy, and I guarantee you'll have a lot of fun with this once you start playing around.
I feel like I can safely say now that I was avoiding Blackletter for no good reason, because the way you broke it down, obviously, and like you said at the beginning, that you were going to try and make it easy and approachable for people, and I can say you definitely did that. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come talk to everybody and share this with all of you. I again really believe you can do this. We only use 3 little lines in that lesson, so it's super approachable and anyone can do it for sure.
I gotta say, like, I have a lot of art supplies. Like, you can see them all. This is my collection, and
I'm so jealous.
But of all of those of all of those pens, I don't own a Pilot Parallel pen, so I think I have to go buy one.
Gasp! Oh my goodness! I mean, I really feel like I should be an advocate for them because I preach so much about how I love them. I often will show people I call this my Pilot Parallel bouquet. I didn't expect to pull this up, but this is my bouquet of Pilot Parallel pens, just because I have so many, and you can modify them. Yeah, so I've turned one into it may not be super visible, but like a folded pen. So you can modify them. They're so much fun to play with and cost effective for around $8. You get everything you need. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to try it. And I'll report back later. But Tamer, if people want to get deeper into this, because that was just a quick overview, and I know you have a lot more resources, where can people find you and get more from you?
So I'm available on all social media. If you want a bunch of free stuff that I put together for anybody that's interested in learning about Blackletter and just wanting to try it out, I put together a bundle of free tools and information, even a promo code for my shop on blackletterfreebies.com. So all you have to do is go to blackletterfreebies.com, and then if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get all the free stuff. And I'm regularly updating it with new stuff as well. So if you just sign up there, you'll get it all.
Amazing. And I know your Instagram just recently got completely decapitated and you had to restart from scratch, which is the scariest story I've ever heard. But what is your Instagram account? Because I know a lot of my followers are on there too.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yes, I'm brand new there again as Blackletter Foundry. So if you just go to Blackletter Foundry on Instagram or Pinterest or any other social media sites, even the web, you'll find me there.
Amazing. Cool. Well, thanks again so much, Tamer, for coming on. I'm really excited for people to see this one because it's so different than what we normally do on here, and I think people are really going to like it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. It's an honor to be on your channel and to be sharing this with everybody. I can't wait to hear and see what everybody makes.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you.